business or are you running a business? Valuation is the ultimate KPI.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Valuations Podcast, brought to you by Truelytics, the premier business intelligence platform for the wealth management industry. My name is Mike Langford and I'll be your host, and this is episode 7, and it's our first back from the Thanksgiving break, and I'm very excited to have Jeremi Karnell, the Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Product Officer of Truelytics, on the show with me today. Now, one thing you're going to notice really quickly in this episode is how comfortable Jeremi and I are with chatting with each other. And that's because, well, we've known each other for a very long time, close to the majority of our adult lives, going back to our early days in Boston. And we'll dive into a little bit of that at the outset of the episode together. But one of the things that I was most happy about with this episode, the way that it came out, is it sets the tone that I have been really looking for the Valuations Podcast, and that the goal for this show is to create a space, right? It's not just a product that you listen to. This is to create a space for you, the executive or manager at a wealth management firm, the practice management professional serving a population of advisors, or you, the individual advisor. This is your space to share time with us. We want to hear from you. We want your questions. We want your suggestions for topics. And in fact, in some points, you'll see that, on previous episodes, we've already had wealth management professionals and executives on the show already at the early days. And that really feeds into the Truelytics ethos, right? It's raison d'etre, right? We are trying to bring value and increase the value of your wealth management firm, of your individual advisory book of business. We will help you grow, help you succeed now and into the future. And one of the ways that we know we can best do that is to bring you extra value, is to create a community and make you feel like you're in the room with us and that you're really looking forward to hearing from us. And I think this episode with Jeremi and I, because we're so comfortable with each other, you will really feel like that is happening, that you're in the room with the two of us. So while you're here, why don't you grab yourself a beverage, grab a seat, put those earbuds in, and buckle up, because we're about to do it. The Valuations Podcast, episode 7, starts now. All right, so I am really excited to have you on the show, Jeremi. Finally, at last. It has been an absolute bear to get you on the show. You're a really big dude. Lots of really exciting things, a lot of exciting things that we'll be digging into here on the show. So thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and by the way, and I know people will hear this after today, but happy birthday. You're joining me on your birthday, which is much appreciated that you're taking some valuable time.
Well, yeah, it's a bigger day than that. It's my birthday. It's my identical twin's birthday. It's my wedding anniversary. It's my parents' wedding anniversary. And it's my late English bulldog's birthday. So everything in my world sort of happens on November 28th. And I'm thankful for that, because I'm notoriously bad at remembering birth dates or phone numbers and anniversary dates. So this is really useful for me, having everything sort of descend on one day. So
that's really hilarious. It's funny. I was mentioning it was my wife's birthday a few days ago. And what's really interesting is, our first date was on the 27th. So, her birthday was right when I asked her on her first date, and then we went on it a couple of days later. Yep. My birthday is on the 27th of March. Our wedding anniversary is on the 27th. So I'm like, 27, it just works for me. So for you, it's 28.
Yep, that's right. It's the 28th, and then November as a whole. Like this month, it's everyone in my family is born in November, which means everyone in my family decides to make Valentine's Day very, very, good. That's if you back out the reason why people are getting born in November.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So this is great. Like I said, I'm really excited to have you on the show. First of all, and for the audience, anyone who's listening, Jeremi and I have known each other now for, I believe, over 20 years.
Yeah. Crazy.
Going back to our very early careers when we both lived in Boston. And it's really it's hard to put into words how exciting it is when you have a friend and a colleague, somebody that you've known for so long, and the relationship is just still continues to grow. We continue to learn more things from each other. We every time we work on stuff together, it feels new and fresh, but kind of that warming, comfy thing.
Yeah, no doubt. I couldn't agree more. I was one of the reasons why I was excited to move from Boston to Austin is to know that there were a handful of people, you included, that had already made the move here, and that there were just some really amazing, like-minded people that you have history with, that you've had just fantastic working relationship with, that you knew was going to continue on. And so it's been great.
That's fantastic. Now, one of the, I have to admit, one big surprise, and it was a curveball that I felt like I did not see coming. Just so is when we got together a couple of it was a couple of years ago, and you announced that you were joining Truelytics, and you brought me on a phone conversation with Terry and the team, and I was just like, "What? Truelytics? Number one, Jeremy's getting into this financial services app thing. He's coming onto my corner. What's going on here?"
No, you're right. That's why I got you on the phone immediately, because I'm like, I'm going to need your help. It was exciting. I had a long career in digital in Boston. And then in around 2011, 2012, moved to Austin, Texas. My business partner in the firm that I had grown in Boston had moved here as well, who happened to be my identical twin brother. We started a new startup the year that we moved to Austin that was called Graphluence. Originally called Graphluence. It was actually renamed OfferGraph, and it was an early stage multi-tenant SaaS platform that allowed brands to identify and connect and monetize relationships with key influencers and social networks. And that was IP that we commercialized out of Harvard. And it was great. We ended up selling it to an Austin-based firm called Polygraph Media back in mid-2014. And so then after that was just involved in consulting here or there, and then was introduced to Terry. And, I sort of harkened back to the work that I was doing between 2011, 2014 in OfferGraph, and saw another opportunity to get involved with building out an application and helping, with some innovation in a specific industry. And I just jumped at it when it became available. And in fact, a backstory, Truelytics. The name Truelytics was one of the names that we had originally thought about for OfferGraph. OfferGraph was conceived when we were still living in Boston, but then we relocated it to Austin, Texas. And so there were several names. I mentioned one, Graphluence. We ended up landing on OfferGraph, but Truelytics was one of the names that we originally secured out of the gates and never used. And so when this opportunity presented itself, when Terry said that he was about to purchase this intellectual property from Gladstone, and it was called Gladstone Analytics, and we needed to come up with a new name for it, I just took a look in my portfolio of domains that I've maintained over the course of the years, and Truelytics just popped up. It was fortuitous. It's fantastic.
By the way, I am glad I'm not the only one who has some of those things in his back pocket. You mentioned that you sat on Truelytics there. It's similar. I have several kind of what I would call, these names that at some point in time I'm going to do something with, or I tinkered with at one point in the past, and like at some point in time that's getting revived. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks that. So one of the things that was most interesting, I mentioned, I had never known you as a deep dive financial services guy. I'd known you had some experience serving financial clients at the enterprise level, but and it was really interesting to me because, I've spent my entire career with a couple of off ramps, but most of my 25 years of working experience, I have spent it in the financial services industry. and across a whole bunch of different pieces, whether it's in retail or institutional, at the advisor level and the like. And one of the things that is the industry is notorious for is it's very insular, right? That a lot of the innovation, if you want to call it that, goes at a slow pace and it happens from within. It is fairly rare to see a business leader like yourself with so much experience kind of enter. Now, I know you're also kind of in a tech industry, so it's not exactly financial services. It's not like, this is an RIA or something.
Right.
But, I thought this might be a kind of a fun way to kick off some of our discussions, is that, as an example, like, how do you feel like your fresh set of eyes are benefiting Truelytics so far? I mean, most everyone else in the team, Terry, Jeff, Carla, they've been in this industry for most of their careers, if not all of their careers. And of course, myself included, as I mentioned. Yep. Where do you feel like, that you're bringing your fresh set of eyes is really helping the most so far? Yeah.
So my whole background, my entire career has been focused around digital product, digital marketing, digital innovation. And so, basically I could move into, frankly, any industry that's focused in that lane and be able to apply an enormous body of work to that. But yes, you're right. I've definitely had financial services experience in the past, especially working with large enterprises. I've, been involved with PayPal and State Street and PNC, UPromise, the Liberty Mutuals and the like. This was the first time I was squarely focused in the wealth management sector. And to be honest, it was head spinning. I mean, it's a pretty complex value chain. I'm not going to lie. And I've had to take the last 2 years of just a lot of coaching by our CEO, Terry, and our president, Jeff Miller, and all of the other people in the firm, as well as just our clients, and as well as everything that I've had to do to just teach myself of the entire value chain and the alphabet soup that makes it up, that makes that value chain, I should say. And so when I came in, obviously I wasn't going to be able to provide any major strategic point of view regarding how the value chain works. What I was able to do is apply over 20 years of digital product innovation within some major sectors and apply that to, I think, an industry that, has been relatively late to the digital game. That it's been a relatively, a cottage industry for so long, and fintech in particular is just beginning, I would say over the last 5 years in particular, is just beginning to gain steam. But if you look at other industries like in the health sector, you look at technology, media, and telecommunications, those sectors really began digital innovation much earlier. And so they've had a lot of work and a lot of development and a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity regarding the solutions they were bringing to bear to their customers and to the industry and to the sector and to the value chain. I think wealth management is finally getting over its skis around that. And so I was able to at least apply that body of work to what we were doing at Truelytics. And I think that's been beneficial.
Digging in on that a little bit, and I'd love to chat about this, is, you mentioned that you really brought a focus on the user experience with the digital product, right? Yeah. So that not only have you just been designing digital products and understand how they work and the application of them, but something you said to me is like, look, a lot of these products, that are in the marketplace that advisors and wealth management firms are using in their day to day, they're very dated looking, right? They are not befitting 2018 and beyond.
Right.
You talk a little bit about that, about how important the user experience is in today's market.
Yeah, no, it was massive. I mean, the intellectual property we bought from Gladstone was sort of a minimally viable product that they had developed over a 4 or 5 year period. And so a lot of work was done on the back end algorithm, which is great. Not so much work was done on the front end user experience. And I think when I came in, there was a lot of just acceptance of that. There was an assumption that, the market is filled with an older generation that doesn't have high expectations of how software as a service should work or how a digital interface should look like. And I completely disagreed with that. It doesn't matter what generation you're in. It doesn't matter what sector you're in. User experience today is being defined by the likes of Apple, by Amazon, by Google. And unless you're willing to go to that level, you're really going to run the risk of not meeting specific expectations around how digital products or user interfaces work. And so that was, I would say that was probably the prime focus of mine over the last year and a half was how can we take this great application that Gladstone, spent a lot of time and energy on, and how can we make it modern, contemporary? How can we make it better? And how can we focus it on solving a solution at the enterprise level, and so there's a number of different things that went into that, but getting over that first hump of now what we have is good enough was a major hurdle that I didn't anticipate having, but I would say that again because of my fresh eyes in this space, I was able to ultimately make I think a convincing argument, and it's been great ever since. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and I agree. I was privy to see the early Gladstone product and have seen what it's evolved into, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, to me, it's interesting because it's one thing to say, hey, listen, I know this is going to be valuable. I know if I put all these numbers in here, some goodness is going to come out when I click calculate, if you want to process or whatever, right? But getting the person to look at the product and go, oh, this is engaging, this is inviting. It is easy to use and navigate. I can look at it and see what the value is going to look like because you're showing me some sample data or a sample presentation, and oh my goodness, that looks really good. I want one of those for myself. That is, you have really knocked it out of the park in that category. Because
thanks. And it was also extending that experience beyond just the application itself. It was also getting people to understand that, from the marketing site to the e-commerce flow to the actual functioning of the application, both in a web browser or on a mobile phone, all of that had to tie together. All of that had to be the same experience, and it had to meet a very high level of expectation. And so, when we started the company in the first year, we were literally building each of those different channels sort of separate and apart from one another. And just as we were, getting over our skis ourselves, trying to take this great technology and rebrand it and take it back to the marketplace. And so it took that whole first year for us to be able to sort of understand how each of those pieces were going to work together, and then how we wanted that experience to look in total. And I would say by the end of 2017, going into 2018, we knew exactly where we wanted to go. We found a great development partner, Cogito, that we brought on, and we had just finished our A round of financing, and we were able to apply some fantastic resources to solving that equation. And I would say that, for the first 11 months of this year, that's been our 110% focus, and very happy with the results.
Usually at this point in the podcast, we're kind of winding down. I ask whoever's on the show with me to kind of talk about the future. Like, where do they see the world headed? Where do they see the wealth management industry headed? Get out their crystal ball. But you have been, as we talk about the future and how the industry is going to change, you have really been investing heavily over the last 6 months or so in what many see as the future of the industry. You've been spending a lot of time recently at MIT in the blockchain area. And I wondered, everybody's curious about blockchain, right? If those people who are not familiar with blockchain, I'll let you give them a high level because you're the one who took the class, right? Blockchain, what most people know of it from call it a 90,000 foot level is, blockchain and Bitcoin go together, right? Cryptocurrencies and so forth. And that's usually the connection that comes to mind. But basically, blockchain is the technology and the platform that a lot of those things like cryptocurrencies being one application of it runs on. Yeah. I thought maybe you could talk, for a minute or so about kind of what you see as a future and how blockchain is going to play a role in the future of the industry.
Yeah, no, it's really important to know that there's a massive distinction between what blockchain is and obviously then the cryptocurrencies that can be created on top of the blockchain. There's a lot of people that conflate the two, and they shouldn't. Blockchain is a technology that really is an immutable ledger. And that's the way you need to think about this, is that one of the benefits of digital transformation is that it's so easy to send information any place you want. It's so cheap and inexpensive to send information anywhere you want. One of the downsides of digital transformation and those dynamics is that it's also super easy to copy information that may not be yours, to alter information that may not be yours. And so this is where blockchain, this is where the value of blockchain is really going to present itself. And this is how it's going to change many industries moving forward, is that now finally we've got a technology in the digital sphere that can take all of the benefits of digital as far as the ease of transferring information and knowledge quickly and inexpensively, but do so in a way that preserves the ownership of that information. And so that's game changing, to be able to now know that you can have something that's digital and that it can't be altered, that will always, the provenance of that information will always go back to you, is very game changing to many industries. And so, we're obviously very serious about looking at that technology and how it applies to our business. We're looking at the industry as a whole, and we see the independent financial service industry sort of on this cusp of collapsing up, right? As a growing number of independent advisory firms see amazing opportunity to collect additional assets and strengthen their existing client relationship. But there's also a lot of firms in the industry that it's a frightening prospect to realize that their survival may be in question. There's an escalating cost of operational functions coupled with fee and revenue compression and rapid consolidation, and who's going to win the war on talent, and a massive lack of succession planning. It's all proving to be really overwhelming and a burden to many small advisory firms. And so with those dynamics in play, those are all play a massive role in the overall transition space, I should say, in the wealth management sector. That space, taking those trends, and then if you look at how generally expensive it is for recruitment, right? Internal broker dealers, recruiters, they take in high fees, right? 5 to 10% to collect a retainer. Emergency continuity documentation hovers between $500 to $2,500. Plan succession costs anywhere between $10,000 to $100,000. M&A is enormously expensive. I think a 2018 report by Forbes indicated that 2017 saw the highest accumulation of M&A advisory fees for its top 5 banks at around $10.2 billion. So it's a very expensive process. And then transition is also a timely process, right? Recruitment, minimum of 3 months to identify candidates and vet. Emergency continuity, 1 month to put documents in place. Plan succession, minimum of 3 months. M&A can take up to a year. And so those dynamics are really, those challenges are symptoms of an imperfect market. The pricing difficulties, the need for expert guidance, and high transition costs all contribute to the market's lack of efficiency and accessibility. And so what we're at Truelytics doing is envisioning a new system where all entities involved in a transition are able to independently agree to a single prime record. And we see that as the Truelytics evaluation. and having real-time visibility into all of the potential next steps. That it's built into the process and becomes a shared common workflow. And so we're pioneering what we're calling the advisor transition management platform in the wealth management industry. And the core component of that platform is our growing database of independent financial advisory firms' books of business. Details around the firm's ownership, staff, clients, processes, revenue, and expenses. That data allows us to generate over 50 key performance indicators related to the firm's business, client, and revenue stability. It also allows us to quickly and accurately calculate valuations across multiple methodologies: discounted cash flow, multiple of revenue, multiple of EBITDA. And so what we're doing is we're creating the most extensive database of financial advisory firm level data, which we intend to securely store on the Ethereum blockchain and maintain a single version of truth for different stakeholders throughout the life cycle of a business. And so we believe that our data set is analogous to personal health records, but for business.
Well, I think that's a fantastic way to wrap it up. I mean, it really is that, right? Truelytics is providing, I always say in the intro, it's your premier business intelligence platform for the wealth management industry.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, you need to have ongoing intelligence about what is happening in your business, and you need to trust the validity of that information.
Yes.
That you're collecting, and know that it is benchmarked against peers so that it's there's a validation point to it, if you will.
Yeah.
So this has been great, Jeremy. I want to really thank you. I know it was, like I said, it was tough to get you to carve out the time for the show. You've been a very, very busy lately. And of course, it is your birthday. Happy birthday once again.
Thank you.
As always, people are going to likely want to follow you and connect with you online. What are the best ways for people to connect with you online?
So obviously, LinkedIn is a great place to start. So you can easily find me there. If you have trouble finding me there, just go to truelytics.com and look in the About Us section. And I have a link to all of my social platforms: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. So anyone can feel free to reach out and connect with me in that way.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much once again, Jeremy. I hope you have a great day. And we will talk to you soon.
You got it.
All right. Huge thanks to Jeremy for spending time with me today on this episode. And huge thanks to you for spending your time with me and Jeremy today. It's really, really nice to have you. I know it kind of sounds quaint, and we talk about, oh, this is your space. It's your safe space. No. It's your interesting space. It is a valuable space for you to get, well, we hope, really good information to join with other members of the wealth management community in pushing your value forward. Because, this show is called Valuations for a reason. So please tell me if you're getting value out of the show. Send in your questions, send in your suggestions for topics, send in your guest suggestions to valuations@truelytics.com. You can also reach out to us via Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or swing by the Truelytics website, truelytics.com, and hit us up on the contact us form there. You can also reach me always. I'm like at Mike Langford everywhere, and I'm always happy to chat with you and get your topics on the show. As always, I do urge you to subscribe and like and give us some thumbs up on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to. Also, like the social network post that you saw this episode referred to on, and share it with a friend. That's your job. Other than sending in topics and questions, tell a friend about the Valuations podcast, that you're getting some value out of it, right? Swing over by a colleague and say, hey, have you checked this out? Check it out. You should listen to this. We would appreciate it, okay? Well, until next week, I hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye.